Water. I mean, there was nothing like that in the world. I've never been in a
Where
setting.
was that at? In
Imogene Pass. When you come, yeah, it's like near Telluride. What else? Ouray, Colorado.
Yeah.
Coming down out of the pass after we had gone up and done some off-road stuff.
Yeah.
Just the drive down that gravel path out to the main road was like, it's like you just have to pause and go, I've never seen anything like this in my life. This is amazing. So beautiful.
What do you think in all your travels? I mean, Wiz can reach way back because we've been a little bit of everywhere, but just from a human experience, let's not say nature, let's talk about human to human. What do you think what would you say is one of the experiences that most changed your outlook on humanity in general, from going somewhere and experiencing it?
Change your outlook. That's different.
Yeah.
What about you?
There's several that are up there, but I would have to go with the year 2000, my first extended trip in Africa, but in the bush, as they say, off grid, no running water for 3 weeks. And that was my first time to disconnect from the Western kind of rhythm of life. And I didn't realize how much that's even before I started doing heavy outdoors type stuff as well. So it was like all of that hitting at once. When I kind of shed the rhythm of how busy life was for me at that time, which has been 25 years ago, the people, the culture, all of it, eating one type of food for 3 weeks because that's all that's available. It was.
What was that? What was that food? Like a rice or something?
The hotel where we were at, which had no running water. You know what I'm saying?
Sort
it was
of like
a hotel.
this place here. It's like didn't come with the package.
It's much like
rice
where we
wasn't
are
in the package.
It's where we are right now.
Actually,
air
it's
con.
this trip.
It is. This trip is the one that's moved the dial the most for me. It was a small little restaurant, and when I say hotel, it's like a bush hotel. So it's like I don't know what else to call it.
It's basically just a touch above being in a tent.
Yes, it's shelter.
Yeah.
But they had a small restaurant, and
which is also like this.
Yes, and in the morning, it would be beef soup, chicken soup. That was it. Beef soup, chicken soup. And then I said something. I said, do you have anything else one day? And it was like, fish. I was like, fish? Yeah, let's get fish.
Fish soup.
I don't know where that fish was caught, but it just came out whole on the plate, cooked. Yeah. And I was like, what, if you've never had fish with an eyeball, like, hey, fella, looking at you. That was all just super surreal.
You're like, that's not how we do it in Texas.
No, not typically, but that thing was just a bone like in a cartoon strip when I was done with it.
Finished?
Yeah, it was delicious.
You were like,
yeah, it was perfect.
That's brave.
But that moved the dial in my life a lot. Yeah.
What about you, Paul?
Well, probably the first time I had that kind of aha, kind of like you travel somewhere and it kind of like, whoa, the world is very different. I was with my dad traveling in Asia. And so we went to Thailand for 10 days. We were in India for a couple of weeks. We were in Burma and Pakistan and all these different places. And man, it was like culture shock everywhere I went. Just so I don't know that I had the appreciation or the ability to take it all in at 18 years old.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But it really did open my world up. I think from then on, I had a cross-cultural ability. Like I could just talk to people. Before, you see somebody with an accent, you think they're different. But after you've experienced a little bit, you just push past that and you realize, that people are the same. And so that was life-changing for me in that regard, in the human experience.
Right.
And then also just an appreciation for just the basics of life, just simple things, We went over to somebody's house and ate this meal that was pretty not so great, and I'd never seen these bones before with the meat that we were eating. I'm like, what does this relate to in the animal kingdom?
The skeletal structure of whatever.
I don't understand.
Yeah, this looks a little strange.
And then they brought out the desserts, and it was like a rice something or other, and it had some nice colors to it, but it was awful. It was awful. And they And my dad was picking up that he wasn't a talker, but they came back and said, "Do you want some more?" to him, and he said, "No, but my son, he really likes that."
He got you, set you up.
That's terrible.
Yeah, I'm like, mm-hmm. But
Got him.
yeah, I've had that experience a little bit of other places too, but I think that would have been the first time in the human experience, just seeing other people, working through language barriers and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Really awesome.
Mine was probably like you, Royce, South Africa. You said yours was in
Uganda.
2000.
Yeah, mine
you
was
were in Uganda.
Next
Okay.
year I went to South Africa.
All right, so that was in Uganda. Mine was probably when I went to South Africa. I mean, Joburg is a well-established city. But I think for me, the change factor was the violence in the Hillbrow area. I was actually scheduled to speak there. Frank is working with us. He's from that region, so he probably needs to be setting in on this and talking a little bit more than me. But all I remember is that area. There were like high-rise buildings that would be 5-star hotels, like Waldorf Astoria, Ritz-Carlton, but they were vacant. And they had it was like ghost town, but they were vacant in terms of it wasn't a business anymore. But there were people there, but it was all squatter.
Reoccupied.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And so the way I remember the story is that whenever apartheid ended and the prisons opened, that's where they just kind of congregated, all the criminals. And we actually saw a guy. I was scheduled to speak there, and we pulled up, and there was a guy in a VW van in front of us, and 2 guys came up, smashed his window out, pulled him out of the window, and stole his van, like the same van we were in, like right in front of us.
Oh, okay. That'll change things.
So like it was a whole new level of fear that I'd never experienced before.
Wow.
Like that was the first time in my life where I was like, not like I'm afraid I'm going to get beat up on the playground. That was the first time in my life when I felt real
life danger,
real fear for my life. Like,
wow.
And there's women and children. I mean, it's not, you just look around at the vulnerability of all the human beings that are living there. Yeah. And it'll definitely change. For me, it changed the gratefulness I had to be able to be in a little town of Kentucky and just walk out on the street, or my future kids be able to just walk out on the street and not worry about their life being in danger. And I had heard, you hear stories, you listen to the news, whatever. But man, when you've lived it, it's a whole nother level of.
We can't speak to that area now because I haven't been there in over 20 years.
Yeah,
but
nor
it was
have I.
Something out of like an apocalyptic movie. I can't even tell.
Sure.
Like we can't. It was scary. Like,
The level.
We drove through there too on that trip at one point, and it was like everybody had this fine dust on them. Like it was just dirty. It just felt like something, I don't know even how to describe it, but like Mad Max. Like the world had ended in that area.
Yeah,
and
Mad
this was the result
apocalyptic is a very good
really.
way to describe it. Yeah.
The poverty level in some parts of the world is also a striking thing, when you haven't seen it before and then you have face on. So on that same trip with my dad, we fly into Jakarta, Indonesia, and the trip to an opulent hotel. At the hotel, it's like squash and English life, and it just feels like something out of World War II or something, like a movie. But on the way there, it's like cardboard city. I mean, a city of just scrap lumber and cardboard and tents.
Yeah.
People living shoulder to shoulder for acres and acres all along the highway.
Yeah. And
I've never seen.
I experienced the same thing when we were leaving Joburg to Kruger. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how far outside of Joburg we were, but you start seeing those little shanty towns where, I mean, some of them were, you felt like it was far as you could see. Mm-hmm. It'd be used metal, like you're saying, cardboard, wood, just scrap together whatever you can. And the dichotomy of that's bumped up against. It's not like you drove 50 miles and there was nothing and then there was a little squalor village. It's like bumped up against that the outer limits of the city. It's very, very eye-opening and mind-changing for sure. Recently, well, I don't know if it was recent or not, but Joe Rogan had a guy on his podcast, and actually there were two guys, and they were talking about, can you really know something if it hasn't been part of your lived experience? So if you haven't lived it, are you just an observer? And one of the guys said to the other guy, he was like, this kind of became a tagline. He was like, have you ever been? And that just like became something that they said, over and over and over again. But I think it's a worthy conversation, because we live in a world where we're always commenting on stuff about, hey, well, I would do this. And there's turmoil throughout the world. Paul, you and I have kind of, had some cross sword moments about the Ukraine-Russia war, but I've never been to Ukraine, but you have. I mean, I've been to Moscow one time, but I've never been to Ukraine. Don't know the struggles that those people face, but you've been very intimately involved. And I think you would say that's probably impacting your thought process.
Oh yeah, I mean,
about how you see that.
Whenever I see something come up in the news now, I mean, just like some incursions into Estonia now with like flight patterns from Russia, and I'm like, man, it just makes me mad. I'm like, and I know the abuse and the history that's happened in Ukraine over the years, and a lot of the corruption actually was because of collusion with Russia. So if there has been a lot of corruption in Ukraine in past years, it's because of collusion from so I just know too much, and I've seen the suffering. And then when all of this comes down, it filters everything that I think about that situation. I don't think of it as a purely American, budgetary discussion.
Right.
I think of the humanitarian challenge. Yeah, the challenge that's there.
So like when we would debate that, the lens, that's the filter of the lens that you're seeing through, is that you've been there, you've experienced it. You didn't just read it in a book somewhere.
I have friends there that are getting bombed.
Yeah. And they're not just your friends on social media. Like you've been there. Like they are a real friend. They're not just a digital acquaintance, right?
Yes.
So for me, when we're having that debate, my lens is over here. And
why are we spending money over there for when we got problems here?
Yeah. So and then for me, I think in this subject that we're going to talk about today, pack a suitcase is like, hey, if you really want to know, if you really want to move the dial, you need to talk through it through lived experience, not just because you clicked on an article on Fox News or CNN
and then fire off on social media. Lots of opinions.
Exactly.
Or you watch some algorithmic fed video and you formed an opinion about what you saw.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of way people learn anything right now.
Yeah, actually, this morning I was watching on CNN, and this is kind of just in the weeds a little bit, but they from Moldova, they actually set up a like their own robot to bait another robot from non-Moldova, and they were getting hits from Russia and China. And they immediately started getting offers of thousands of dollars
for what?
To repost. So to create this, and some of it was on the Charlie Kirk stuff. Yeah. Some of it was on Trump this and that. I mean, it was real fast.
Yeah.
On how quick it was happening.
Right. Yeah, I read similar things about China and Russia. Active in our social media.
Yeah.
Very
disruption.
Yeah.
Talk about lived experience. I grew up in a little town in Ohio next to a cornfield. It was like 1 square mile. It's the whitest place on the planet.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just white people, farmers, And my parents were going to move to the Philippines at the time. And so I lived with my grandparents for a little bit, but for a minute, we moved from this little farm town where I'd gone to all my school years up through 9th grade into inner city Columbus. Just, it's a circumstance. Anyway, this house was in a school district in a primarily black school. And I had no interaction with anybody outside of our culture my entire life.
So you're a real life Navin Johnson.
I don't know what that is.
The jerk.
Oh,
Remember the movie?
Oh,
The
yeah.
Jerk? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
I forgot the name.
Go on,
but-
Navin.
Yeah, I'm telling you. So I was like, it was culture shock. Yeah. I mean, and I felt sort of the pushback, like not inclusion.
Yeah.
I would skip lunch and go play basketball because I just didn't want to go have the lunchroom experience and just try to figure out who could be a friend.
Yeah.
And then I'd play basketball, and you're okay if you rebound and pass it to somebody, but
Yeah.
if you expected to get a pass, you weren't going to get one.
Yeah.
But I'd play basketball every day, skip lunch,
Yeah.
just to be doing something, and it was really tough to befriend, and I did make friends, but it was a huge learning experience for me that I've used now all my life, actually, to find my way into a school system where the predominant culture wasn't mine.
Yeah.
That was
That
Kinda
had
wild.
to be tough in like 1890 to
Yeah.
be able to
Right.
to do
That's
that.
Right. I mean, it
back into Jim Crow.
was very progressive at that time.
Yeah.
Well, the point that you make, I think is really important about travel or experience.
Yeah.
I think it's good for every human being to spend a little bit of time with a decent amount of frequency going where you're the minority.
Mm.
And just taking that in and living in that rhythm, tour, travel a little bit.
Exactly.
But just get out of your world
Yeah.
long enough to be the minority somewhere else. And I think it shifts perspective quite a bit.
Yeah.
And opens your mind, opens your soul.
Yeah. We were tagging in on that a little bit last night when we talked about taking Paul to West Hollywood the next time we shoot the pod. It's going to be quite a lived experience. I think we'll just skip right over that. But I think the real question is,
I'm just glad you guys are sitting apart.
yeah,
I just need,
hold his hand. Hold his
I
hand.
missed it. That was my chance.
That was perfect. He
Yeah.
yanked it away pretty quick. But a question would be, should we become, maybe not should we, but just in general, if somebody comments on something that they haven't had a lived experience with, is that okay? Like, should they be able to do that? Is that a yes or a no? And whichever one it is, just kind of give me your why.
I think it's worth mentioning maybe, and we don't do this very much, is defining the context of the conversation or defining the context of where a comment might be offered or held back.
Yeah.
I do think the context of whatever's being said plays in big time as to whether or not I should offer something I read
Yeah.
versus something I've experienced, or and I do think there's an aspect of that. There's sometimes I should be quiet.
Yeah, there are some
because I
things
don't
that
have
are
much to offer there.
distant from us, some geopolitical things that we just really, I don't know, haven't had the lived experience.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's some things that are pretty close to home. I mean, this whole thing with Charlie Kirk brought up so much, back and forth. And, growing up and having some lived experience in the African-American community, I became very sensitive to how they perceive Charlie Kirk, right? It's a whole different filter. And for some, and so I'm real careful. Like if I'm going to comment on that stuff without that knowledge, you can hurt some people without intending to, right?
Without
You just
a
have
doubt.
to be very careful about what you say because not everybody's experience is the same. They're just not looking at it. It's a prism, right? It's got facets.
Well, it's insulting and offensive for someone to pontificate, there's you a big one, on some subject that they've not lived, they've not experienced, they don't really understand. It's the height of being tone deaf or blind.
Yeah.
When you weigh in like authoritatively about
Yeah.
something, or you hold so tightly to your opinion and you've not really lived it or understand it at all. So I think we should be mindful of that. And humility in our conversations should really
There you go.
get a revival.
Yeah.
To just, and while I'm holding the floor here, we live in a world where there is an enormous amount of pressure to have an opinion about everything.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah.
And it is a blind spot.
Just say I don't
have
know.
to have an opinion about everything.
Right.
Yeah,
And
the
I'd
whole
rather learn.
the pressure to respond.
Yes.
That's because the whole thing about silence is acceptance is not true in every case. I don't believe that.
No, if I'm learning and I'm seeking to
Yeah.
understand,
Yeah.
now I'm going to be silent because I don't feel prepared to be able to weigh in on this effectively or wisely, or if we care, speak any truth to that. I need to learn the truth of it before I can formulate how I might feel or suggest.
You know, I was listening to Jordan Peterson on a number of occasions on different topics, and he's so articulate. And I noticed that he would repeatedly use the phrase, "It would seem."
Yeah.
Now,
That's
I mean,
wise.
he had the ability to speak from authority on this topic. And I think that he knows, but he would proffer it like that.
Yeah.
It would seem. And I thought, this is a beautiful way to talk about some hard topics.
Yeah. Because he's not saying I know.
Right.
Right.
Or
Who does?
or it is for sure. This
Yes.
way.
Like, can I offer this as a thought? It would seem, and maybe I'm missing something here, but it would seem.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind. And I think that's where the hate speech starts, kind of, you get tagged with hate speech if you don't frame your words,
Yeah. Well, even like in the Charlie Kirk situation, I hardly even knew his name before the unfortunate tragedy. So I think I could weigh in on his tragedy and say it's a tragedy because that's a fact. I don't have to say it would seem that it's a tragedy, but to say what all the stances are,
Right.
I mean, I don't even know, and I think social media is pulling us into sharing our opinions, and somehow we've elevated ourselves through hubris or whatever to be like, oh yeah, not only is this my opinion, but I'm going to share it, and I'm going to share it
in your face,
and I'm not going to give you any context of that.
Yep.
So if we look at this from grab a suitcase, you're not going to say, well, okay, it would seem to me this, but I just want to make sure that this is kind of a new topic for me. So I'm just kind of sharing my surface level, or hey, this is a lived experience for me. I worked on his security team. That's different. So none of that ever comes about. It's just, I'm going to give you my opinion, and the tone in which I write is going to be that I am correct. And there needs to be no further comment on this.
I mean, after that event, I watched hours of clips. I mean, couldn't hardly help yourself, right? Because they were coming up in doom scroll. Is that what you said?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all over.
Yeah, they were all over the place. And I enjoyed watching them because I wanted to know, right?
Yeah.
But still, when I got done watching all of that, and I felt like I had a pretty good grasp of his tone and the tenor of what he had to say, I still didn't want to comment.
Sure.
I just felt like I just wanted to know. But to comment would be, I had to be careful there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and think of the pressure now to where, we haven't heard from Paul yet on this. Like, that's the absurdity of the demand socially.
I actually got that text.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I did comment, but
somebody sent you a text that said you have.
Well, not like in a mean way. I'm saying somebody was like, "We'd like to hear from you," type thing. You know what I mean? Not in a mean way.
Seriously, and not. Let's just take a tiny tangent.
Whether it's kind or mean, it's still pressure.
And get this. Like this last Sunday, a week ago on Sunday, the amount of pressure to where different podcast pundits are saying if your pastor in your church didn't make a comment and address on the Charlie Kirk thing on Sunday, you should probably look for a different church. I mean, this is a massive,
that was said, no joke,
massive firestorm of pressure about having to have something to say along some lines.
Right. So the assumption is that everybody should think the same way. I mean, it's just not.
Yeah, I don't know how that. Yeah,
and
exactly.
our community is very diverse, and so you have as many opinions as you have diversity.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that leads us into the next segment: is why.
Why what?
Why is that pressure? You're not just feeling it. It's really real because it is being applied on a regular basis to use your social media
as a platform,
to use not just social media, but Paul, you actually have a platform and a microphone. So the pressure to be like, no, you need to say something. You need to address this. Like, where do we feel like that's coming from?
Well, specifically in the Charlie Kirk situation and what I just referred to from different pundits saying you should consider not going to a church anymore if they did not address it. Man, that's shallow. I mean, it's like a 1,000 miles wide and less than an inch deep of a point of view. And I could see where they might be trying to come from, but that does not for a place like the church. And I'm looking at the best of all possible scenarios when I say church.
Right.
That's limiting free speech in a way, is for people to find what would be the best way to lead a local congregation. Should not have the pressure to have to comment on something that happened. Now, caring for people and all of that. Here's where I'm getting. I think what this gets at is a hidden blind spot of pressure to force people who are leading you to reveal how they feel about things, because more and more is the world polarizing around, I want to know if we really agree on everything. I want to know, are you really on the same page as I am?
Yeah.
And I think that pressure's under it to some degree, because we don't know how to have dialogue. We don't know how to disagree and it not lead to divorce.
Yeah.
And we're wanting to proof whether or not how identical we are on our points of view. Or things
I mean, like, I'd high five Charlie Kirk on a number of things he talked about.
I would too, probably,
but
not everything.
To say I'm like super aligned, or I'm super aligned with the MAGA world or something else would be, that's a bridge too far.
Yeah.
And so, I'm my own person, right? I have my own journey, and I don't know everything. Hello.
Yeah.
So I don't want to just like unilaterally just decide I'm aligned with one idea from one person.
Yeah, and we're kind of Charlie Kirk is not the subject here, but it that's kind of where we're sticking for a little while. But
it's fresh.
I mean, think about how firestormy this is, and we're not even in an election cycle.
Exactly.
I mean, there's not an up or down. I mean, so no matter what your media flavor is, TV, social media, whatever. Why are we not just all in unison for a few weeks or months, just saying this is a tragedy that should never happen on American soil, period. No matter what stance they're in. And we talked about other leaders, some Democratic leaders who were assassinated. We talked about that in another pod. And I think it's a tragedy, and that's it. It stops there. I don't need to talk about anything. I don't need to talk about his alignment with this or his alignment with that, or do I feel like, this is spreading that. I agree with you. I think we've become so accustomed to getting in these ideological echo chambers or groupthink that we need to know, where are you on this?
Exactly.
Where are you on this? Where do you stand? And if we take that back to some of the historical texts that the three of us read, it's kind of like the guy who asked a rabbi, well, who is my neighbor? Mm-hmm. Like, I need you to tell me who is my neighbor, put them on the spot. And that's just not, for me, that's just not okay. Like,
I think exploring truth, though, events that happen in social dilemma, forces you to think, right? Some areas you don't explore about what you believe or what is truth unless something happens to kind of put you in a corner to make you think about it.
Sure,
right?
Sure.
So I think in that regard, that exploration, we shouldn't just like be lazy, or morally or intellectually lazy. Like, well, I don't have to decide on that. I don't have to have an opinion. Well, maybe maybe we do need to think a little bit further, like on what we think, what's the logic from which we're driving? What's the truth that's the foundation for us? Pontificating on it, forcing others to believe exactly like us, that's a whole nother thing.
Sure.
Right?
And I would just tag on to that. I like what you're saying, is that me formulating how I feel about it is one thing, but then whether or not I need to share that with the world, I'm under no compulsion to tell the whole freaking world how I feel about something.
Yeah.
I mean, I have serious issues with where this goes and how it's shaped our psychology, that people feel it is their God-given mandate to have a conversation with the whole world all day, every day.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's healthy for us.
Yeah.
I've got to have something to say, but I do need to sit in this and think about it. But maybe it's also a holy thing, potentially, for some. Those who have something to say, and they should, say it. But there's just as holy calling to say, I want to sit on this for a while, and I might not say anything right now.
Yeah.
Trust me, walk with me.
And at the end of the day, just to kind of, we'll land the Charlie Kirk category here, but at the end of the day, to go back to what we're talking about, probably 99,000 out of 100,000 are only giving their opinion, and it's not an expert opinion. So what's being asked for is, it's about alignment.
That's what they're
because you're
getting
not
less about truth and more about alignment.
It's not.
Are you
moving,
on my side?
It's not moving anything.
No. I just want to know: are you someone that I want to walk around with, and you need to think
or
like?
Or do I need to cancel you?
Exactly, because that's the us and them psychology that's running rampant in this whole polarity thing.
Yeah. So let's back up to our original story. That's all fantastic, but
are all opinions equal?
Packing the suitcase, and how, my experience in Africa, yours throughout Asia, that still can impact even those kinds of situations.
Certainly.
But it's definitely going to impact our empathy that we have for minorities throughout the world, or people, if we're looking at it from an anthropological standpoint, to reduce our ethnocentricity, on various things. So how do we, for young people, on another pod, we talked about the rising cost of college. Inflation is high. A lot of young people are looking for solid jobs. So how is it that we could encourage them? Royce, your daughter, you mentioned she went to Spain. I think she also went to Africa as well.
On
so
2 occasions.
How is it that we can help young people start to, at a very early age, get a framework that is outside of just a Western world, United States? This is the only way to look at things. This is the only way to experience things. What are some ways that we could help get them on a broader path by packing a suitcase and heading out somewhere?
Travel.
Well, I know, but I'm saying
just saying it's simple, but I had more.
Okay. All right. Well, you left it hanging, so.
Yeah, because it was called dramatic pause.
Oh, travel.
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 So if your family can travel while your children are still at home, that's going to move the dial. I heard one author, it's Donald Miller, who's done some business work now and did Blue Like Jazz. I think it was Donald telling the story of someone he was working with that was rather wealthy, but their upper teenage years was really kind of losing their way in a significant way. And Donald simply told this gentleman, the father, he's like, you have to change her story. You have to alter her story. And so I think as parents and as individuals, we should be looking at, what story am I living? Take inventory of your story. And one of the greatest ways to shift that story and add some color and texture and characterization to your story is get out of your bubble.
Mm-hmm.
So to get more honed in on your question, our kids should travel soon after graduating. And I think, is it the Amazing Race? It's an 11-month. Do you know the program? I just went blank because I wasn't prepared to talk about this. But someone who was a part of Story Church.
It's okay. I sent you the notes a little bit earlier, but you just.
No, I mean to add the rich layers of revelation and profundity to those notes.
Profundity. I feel like he's pontificating now.
I am. Watch me stand. Watch me sit
Potentate.
straight. Hello, everyone. I'm ready now to give my comments.
Give some profundity.
There's a thing. My good bro Matt. He's just wrapping it up. Just got a letter from him, and they do 11 months in I think 11 countries, and they raise their own money. And they go and they help and they serve. So one whole year you raise your budget, which is a cool discipline and endeavor as well. But then they send you in all these key areas over almost a year period of time around the world, basically. Unbelievable program. I couldn't recommend it enough. And I'm stuck because I didn't refresh the exact name, but it's got to do with the race. But something like that is fantastic. And I've seen it. I probably know of 3 to 4 people that we've helped raise money to go on it, and it has changed their life ultimately. Matter of fact, was pursuing to become a doctor, and now he wants to spend his time in another country helping develop the way they do water.
Oh, wow.
So it's a phenomenal thing that just shifts the story.
So it altered his entire story by doing that.
Yes.
Paul, what do you think? You have any young people that you're working with that need to get out, pack a bag, and go somewhere?
Yeah, I think, economics becomes a part of it. Your family upbringing, not everybody has the, or at least thinks they have the option to do something that's kind of cross-cultural. So that becomes an inhibitor for most of the world. They're going to live in an ethnocentristic environment most of their days.
Yeah.
And if they're stuck there, and even parents feel like they're stuck there, I think being careful about how you talk, right? How you talk about other groups of people.
As a parent.
Yes. Being careful to honor different parts of society. How we do humor needs to be crafted around that, and how we talk about conflicts that we see in the news, that we don't just go to this imbalanced approach of just swallow the whole pill and, take the medicine and spit it back out the same way you heard it.
Yeah.
Right? This filtered way about us. It's sort of like when your kid comes home from school and tells you what happened. And then you're like, okay, now tell me a little more about that.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to get mad at the other kid yet.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get mad at the teacher or the school or the principal yet. Because mostly you're thinking, it's your job. It's you, dude.
Yeah, right.
So I think that whole approach to other cultures is a part of our mindset. I would say my parents did that well, but I never had exposure until then. When I went into a world where I was exposed, I knew how to honor people.
Yeah.
I didn't dishonor them, right? So now I'm getting a whole different culture. I could have repulsed against that. I guess I could have resisted, but I kind of leaned into it because I honored them as people.
Yeah.
And that came from my parents, even though I wasn't in a mixed cultural thing. So I don't know. That's kind of a twist on what you're saying.
Yeah, it's good. Had your dad already completed his, because he spent a fair bit of time in Asia. Was he doing that while you were a teenager?
He was in World War II killing people in Asia.
Okay.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, that was his exposure to the world, was thrown in as a 17-year-old in Navy.
Yeah.
But
he also
I'm just a little tongue in cheek with that.
But he also went back and was a missionary to that region, right?
Yeah. He was adventurous.
Yeah.
He born in Boston, lived around, had moved some and had a lot of exposure. So, and he was good with people. But my cultural exposure came as a teenager, late teens, and so travel did a lot of that for me.
Yeah. So I one of the things I've told my kids is, so they know we have some assets, and whenever my demise happens, they're going to get some things. But I told them, I said, hey, look, right now, while you guys are alive, I'm paying for 2 things. I'll pay for your college, So you get an education, and I'll buy you a nice set of suitcases. But other than that, when you're an adult, you're on your own, because the best thing I can give you is an education, and I'll give you suitcases, because I think the next best thing to that is to travel as much as you can travel. And
I didn't feel like I had the option, but I do think that what Sydney did, or no,
Mackenzie
did, is amazing. I wouldn't have had that thought for my kids. We were just kind of living, week to week, trying to survive life at that season of our life, raising kids and having a house full, and just lucky to, pay for groceries and make sure all the bills are paid.
Yeah.
But if I'd been more thoughtful, probably the school system would have driven some of that, but I just didn't have that idea.
Well, Kenzie, I want to give her credit too. She was incredibly adventurous. I mean, from a little age, she was a go. But she stepped into opportunities, and then our church community had one that was available that exposed her to it. So a lot of it also was her drive and her desire that it made sense to us to be like, you've worked really hard in high school, and this is going to be, because I've always believed, because of my own experiences, that it's so critical to get out of your bubble as quickly as you can, and spend a little time being a minority. I like saying it that way.
And we were beneficial because we were in ministry fairly young, and there was opportunities to be able to do that.
Yes.
But I think there are probably more opportunities out there for people to go and travel and experience than we realize, especially from a volunteer perspective. But also to parents, I mean, there's certain parents right now that panic if they know because there's a debate whether cell phones should be allowed in school or not. And I know parents who are like, I can't imagine my kid being at school and me not being able to have connectivity with them. They're not gonna come up with a way for their kid to go to a third world country where they're going to be a minority for 12 months, and you're not helping them by creating that kind of atmosphere.
Is not helping.
Yeah, it's
one
not.
of the. I was just thinking one of the ways that actually our family was exposed to other cultures is we've had so many young people live with us.
Yeah.
So I've had interns that came that literally lived with us, sometimes up to 2 years, from other parts of the country, other parts of the world. I mean, that was our part of our Ukrainian exposure was the young man that I'm closest to, probably talk to him every few weeks. He lived with us, for 6 or 8 months for a season. So that,
that's a great
that's
way
another
too,
way.
You're bringing it into your home.
Yeah.
And you're showing that welcome. You're crossing the cultural barriers. You're learning languages. You give them an appreciation for a lot of things.
Yeah. Well, there's a certain segment of becoming an anthropologist that if you don't live, like if you don't immerse yourself some way, like in someone's home or bring somebody in with you, that they'll be like, well, you're an academic anthropologist, but you're not an experienced anthropologist because you don't have the lived experience. So you're well read, you've studied it, but you're missing that component. And there's a big segment of anthropologists that are like, you're an academic, but you're not an anthropologist because you haven't lived it.
If you could roll your life back to your teen years and then move forward with this subject in mind, are there things that you wish you would have done?
100%.
Yeah. And I think there's something here that's left brain, right brain that's so good is the West is so left hemisphere about everything, which is logic and rationale. But remember, the preconscious processor's over here on the right, and it's a relational engine. And so the way the ancients would do it is you would find an expert, and you didn't just go take classes from the expert. You often moved in with them. Mm-hmm. So in ancient Japanese sword making, if you became that sword maker's disciple, you left home and moved in with the sword maker. So you not only get the techniques of sword making, you get the life of the sword maker in there with you. So it's this idea of what would I have done different? I would have buddied up with some different people that I know now to have their life and experience. That's the bundle right there, is to get with someone, and it's not just the data. It's the experience and the life that ties all that together.
Yeah, there's probably 10 or 11 places that I could think of right now. It'd be hard for me to just narrow it down real fast. But in one of the books that I read, the guy he was trying to complete his, not just be an academic, he was doing his lived experience. And he was in Morocco. And like when he flew into Marrakesh, where the village outside of Marrakesh where he was going to live, he couldn't move in there. He'd already decided that's where he wanted to be. But once he got there, what he learned was he couldn't just go into the city and rent an apartment. The elders of the city had to approve his rent. And so now he could come into the town and do commerce and different things like that. But live was a whole nother deal. So he had a period of months where he was having to drive back and forth from Marrakesh to whatever the town was. And it wasn't a short drive. I mean, it wasn't like 10 minutes. It was a couple hours and they were proving him out before he could just move in. And in that time, you can imagine how many things happen when you're in a country like that. You don't necessarily speak the native tongue. It was a fascinating book. But imagine the change in that guy's life.
Absolutely. After
he, fully experienced all that. I think he was there for a total of maybe like 24 months is where it was at. But he ended up getting in with the village elders and all that. But I mean, it wasn't like, hey, I'm an American, I got this cash, I'll just move in,
And it's worth a tiny commercial as to the power of eldership guarding the community.
Yeah.
We want to know, are you right fit for who we are?
Yeah.
And it wasn't just financially based.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? It was culturally based.
Yeah.
And once they had vetted him, then they could give him a green light. And it wasn't just he couldn't just buy his way in and disrupt the flow of their culture. Just that's a wonderful example.
I think if I rolled the tape back and could have a lived experience, I would like to have been immersed in a place where I learned a language, and it was a part of me.
But you learned Latin at a young age, right? That was
Latin
in Rome. That was just before the fall of the Roman
I took
Empire.
Latin in 9th grade.
Okay.
But it wasn't in ancient Rome.
So many languages.
But
to see Hannibal come over,
right.
was just unbelievable. But it was terrifying.
Yeah. The Mongol horde and all.
The Mongol
The Gauls. No, yeah.
But we had this one girl that lived with us just for a minute when I was in Ukraine. Was in a house anyway. Met this young lady that had needed a surgery she couldn't get in Ukraine. We worked with a Ukrainian doctor in the States. Blah blah blah. Anyway, she came over, had that operation. Doctors participated, hospitals participated, did it for her. It was on the news. It was a really cool deal. So she was with us for a while. So we were coming over here to this to do this podcast and hang out with y'all in Hanover. Well, we thought, we heard that she had moved to Poland when the war started out of Ukraine. And then I looked it up on social media, and she was in Germany. And I'm like, oh, cool. So I inboxed her, and she said, yeah, I'm in Hanover. She's right here.
I love it.
That's so cool. So the other night we met with her, and then spent numbers of hours. We're supposed to meet with them again. But what was cool is, guys, she was in Ukraine. She studied a little bit of English in school. She came to the States, so she had some exposure there, and she had some other bilingual relatives that speak some English, so she had some exposure there. Then she moved to Poland for a couple of years during the war. So now she speaks Polish. Now she moved to Germany, right?
Well, she learned that quick,
and she's learned. She's functional in 5 languages.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, let's let it be said, right? If you want to learn the language of a thing, you don't just read about it.
Right.
You got to get immersed in it. You
It's
got to
the same
experience
kind of thing, yeah.
And yeah, sure, you could learn some language structure in a book, but nothing is going to do for you what immersion. And I think that's a cool archetype for what we're talking about. Is like get out there and live, and maybe make some mistakes, but just
make
get
some
out
mistakes,
there and get
like
in
the time
it.
when I thought my Russian was really coming along pretty good, and I went to the Ukraine. I had this group around, and I had been experimenting with some language, and I thought it was pretty cool. And I was, Yakachu kava. I want some coffee. It's a hard way of saying it, And so I said, Yakachu whippets. Well, it literally means I want something to drink. But the connotative meaning is I want to get drunk. So I said in front of this whole group of people.
I want to get drunk.
This one guy goes, they click their throat like this when somebody's drunk.
Yeah.
Like if somebody does something stupid, they're like, he's drunk. You know? And so he goes, you don't want to say that. I want to get drunk.
I want to get drunk. Well, I when in prep for this, I read a quote. It said, imagine the most amazing book ever written, and that book being the world. Mm-hmm. And we're just like, I'm good with just reading this one page. That's so
what a waste.
When we don't travel and we don't experience, when we don't pack the suitcase, it makes us so one-dimensional. And I'm not busting on Americans. I'm just saying, as an American, what I feel like to be true is the hubristic thought process that we have as Americans is nauseating.
It is.
And that, for me, can only really be curtailed, not by just reading something. You have to go have a lived experience to really understand the dichotomy, not just between the way we think, but the way we live and the way we experience life, and even just the benefits that we have that we take for granted on a daily basis.
I love it. And here's a couple things that popped into my head. Like, let's say you're an American, right, from the United States of America. Just go a few states over. It doesn't even have to be international.
Right. Yeah.
It would be great, but I've learned a ton traveling all over the U.S.
Yeah.
And then watch this, okay? So maybe you don't even have the budget for that yet. Pack a bag and get to know your neighbor that's not like you.
Yeah.
Pack a bag and just say, I want to enter in. So I love the law of incarnation. Incarnation is putting flesh on something. And what I think a lot of people need to do is they need their data and information that they think they're so knowledgeable in to get some shoe leather and some flesh put on it. So here's the laws of incarnation. Number 1, enter into another's world. Just go get into their world. You don't have to agree with it. Just go get in it. Number 2.
It's just about experience. That first one is just about experiencing it. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then number 2, so you want to keep that second law alive as well. Hold on to yourself. It isn't about losing yourself somewhere else.
Hold on to yourself?
Hold on to yourself.
Like this, or?
Hey, I knew that was going to.
I'm asking you to unpack it.
Cut.
What, can I hold on to?
You will hold on to Paul.
Yeah.
Okay. So enter into another's world. Number 2, hold on to yourself, because it isn't about just losing yourself, but it's going to be about discovering more of yourself.
Right.
If you can get into that tension. And number 3 is the tension. Prepare to hang between the two worlds. Be a bridge.
Yeah.
And get into that place. And if you could just take that principle, man, I have tried to live that to the best of my ability, is like, okay, what is this requiring of me right now?
I'm smiling because I've had some counterculture discussions in Oklahoma. Did you know that Oklahoma is another culture?
It is another culture, bro.
From Dallas.
Yeah, from Dallas. Yes.
Especially when you're in bug tussle.
Bug tussle.
Bug tussle.
I'm a East Texas, Piney Woods, Texas boy. T.F. Tenney, when he found out I was born in Silsbee, he said, boy, I bet you got 2 ticks still in your navel. It's one of the funniest things I've ever heard anybody.
2 ticks still in your
navel. I bet
navel.
you still got 2 ticks in your navel.
Get in there, boy.
Get in there.
All
Get in there,
deep,
nice
all
and deep
deep
like.
like.
And so I go and spend 15 years in the Pacific Northwest.
Oh.
I mean, in Seattle. You want to talk about a different world. It's a completely different world. Best thing ever could happen to me.
Yeah.
Is to do that. Best thing ever is to be in this season of coming back to my roots.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. It just makes the gumbo so flavorful and unique.
Mm-hmm. You know, to your thinking about you saying that about coming back, I mean, as we're growing, we may look at where we're at and disagree with where we are.
Sure.
And I think early on in human maturity or spiritual maturity, we do kind of want to be like, well, I'm just going to throw that away. So kids will go to university and they'll get some new thought process and they'll just want to piss on exactly how they were raised. Like, oh my God, I can't believe that was so wrong. And I think I think there was a lot of what I came out of that is wrong, but I don't want to just like throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah.
I think there's a temptation to do that. That's another. I love that. I was joking about the holding on to yourself, but that's what you're saying is don't just
coming back to your roots. Like, I think you end up with empathy. You end up with a kind of empathy. You don't want to diss them. You want to pull them up in a kind of sort of way, not in a I'm better than you, but you really do understand what it's like to have lived in that kind of bubble. And so you kind of have a unique opportunity to bring people out.
Well, to his point, you're going
right.
And you're going to come back in to incarnation.
Yes.
Bringing back what you've now learned.
Absolutely.
But you're also not just trying to change it. You're just going to come back and experience where you're at today.
Sure.
Because so much of maturity is the ability to better rest in tension. Everything doesn't have to be resolved.
That's awesome.
I can sit in the mystery. I can sit in the tension. I can sit and savor the tension. I don't need it to be fixed. I can come back to Texas, where when I left, I'm going to be very honest, I was done.
I'm never out of here.
I was just done with what it had been for me, even though it was my roots.
Yeah.
Now I come back and I feel like I can crown it for what it got right. I can compliment it. I can savor and enjoy not just the things that I need to change.
And I think when you're younger, you feel attention like to be drawn back in, and you're like, no, I'm not going to be drawn back in, right? So it's almost like a resistance.
That was my mentality.
But then when you come past that, you're like, you're okay with that tension.
And
you're
can acknowledge what's good with it.
I think there's something maybe deep inside of us from an evolutionary thing or something like that, because I think this is universal.
I agree.
You have people immigrate from other countries coming here, and early on they're like, I'm never going back there or whatever. And then they, at some point, begin to build appreciation for certain things that were in their past. And then that hunger grows to be like, oh man, no, I do have a respect for that. I think that's still part of the packing a suitcase. And packing a suitcase doesn't make you an expert or master of all things in maturity, but it does get us there and broaden our horizon, getting us out of the groupthink and the ideological echo chambers.
Yeah, I think it's sort of like when you were talking about this when you came to Bruges, was it Bruges? Bruges. I felt the same thing in Nuremberg. Like you're walking around and all of a sudden you just feel so small. In a very, very big and historic world. It's just, it comes over you, like
it overwhelmed me.
Wow. I've actually felt like I will say the presence of God almost, like just sitting in that history and knowing it's just so big.
Yeah.
And
I had that experience at the Colosseum in Rome.
Yeah.
Just, there's an area where you can walk up and sit down like as if you were watching it.
Yeah.
And just to sit there and take that in. And they have a part of it where it's kind of covered and a little bit recreated, just a little bit, just to try to take all that in and of the years that was open, the lives that were lost there.
Right.
All the people that have come through the Roman Empire since the fall of it.
Because not everybody has a Paul that they're in relationship with that can tell you stories
what it was like
and just tell you stories of exactly
to see the tigers come up at the bottom
like
of the
what
floor.
was it like to go there as a middle-aged man.
That's right. I forgot you won your freedom.
You guys.
He was a gladiator.
I said, what was it like to see that as a middle-aged man?
I'm pretty sure the film Gladiator was
Yeah, that was Paul. Paul is inspired gladiator.
Yeah.
I've got a vial of my sweat if you guys need it for something.
Paulius Maximus.
Paulius Maximus.
I tell you, so drop it maybe towards the end here on something like even cosmic. Think in human history how little cultures could travel. So they got so ethnocentric because you just couldn't travel. We live in an age of hypermobility.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say I don't think this. I think the statistics will bear this out, but I don't think it's really questionable. There has never been a melting pot like the United States of America. That's in human history. I don't think there's ever been such a concentration of different. So we are having to grow in a way as human beings, and I'm just wondering if that's not an evolutionary scale thing that's being pressed, because even Germany, right here where we are, you see a lot more ethnicities. A lot of countries are dealing, UK, right, with just so many surges of different kind. What opportunity is that for us to grow as humans, to thrive, to expand, to kind of not like for me being raised in Texas, going to Seattle, but coming back to Texas, maybe we can leave some of our bubble, expand and grow by entering another person's world, but also come back because we didn't completely throw ourselves away and be a little bit more than we were before we started.
Yeah, the diversity of like Toronto is like a microcosm of the entire United States.
Absolutely.
As far as the diversity that it has.
Yeah, never in the history of the planet has there been the ability to have this much diversity in different places. So what challenge is that calling us to grow as human beings? To embrace that. And I think that's a lot of what's underpinning a lot of the issues we're having right now is a wrestling with how do we do that well.
Yeah, I think as parents, business owners, teachers, mentors, or whatever, I do think we need to be thinking through that about if our lived experience is pretty small, we need to look to expand ours a little bit more.
Yes.
We should probably always be looking to expand it, but we could do that with kids that are in our lives, that are our actual kids that we're mentoring. Take somebody along with you. If you can't do that, whether it's somebody in your workforce. I mean, we've been talking about sending people from our workforce on missions trips to where it's like not a theological missions trip, but like go dig a water well, somewhere where they don't have water. That just changes the mindset of what it means to have need. I mean, we go flip on whatever switch we want. I mean, some people turn their showers on and let them run forever before they even get in. And somewhere else, a kid is having to go walk for 2 miles just to get a bucket of water. And then he's got to walk 2 miles back.
Just something as simple as letting the faucet run while you're brushing your teeth.
Yeah.
So
my wife does not allow that.
Yeah, well, it's something to think about. And I mean, I'm not trying to be,
She's
just
the
some
boss.
Totalitarian, but when you live nearly a month out of a jerry jug that was pulled out of a ditch, right? That water's precious. And so I just pour a little bit on the toothbrush. I can't afford to just let it sit there and run the whole time.
Yeah.
That's an important experience that shapes you for the rest of your life to see things as precious when you might have been raised to underestimate the value of that because it's everywhere.
Yeah. And to take that toothpaste toothbrush another level is you don't have to worry about, is there something in that water that's going to potentially kill me?
That too.
Because if that's the case, you're not even going to mess with brushing your teeth, right?
Exactly.
So or even, that's the thing when I've been to some countries and sit down and eat, I'm like, I never sit down and eat and wonder if what I'm eating is potentially going to kill me.
Exactly.
But there's people all over the world who don't know if what they're going to eat is potentially going to not nourish them, but actually take their life.
So good. Well, I actually I made it sound like I had brushed my teeth out of the jerry jug, which I didn't. It was bottled water, which is scarce. I had to use my bottled water to brush my teeth.
Yep.
So you just have a different mindset when you experience something different than your normal.
Yeah, so we're just laying down the challenge to ourselves and to others. That's like, hey, let's pack a suitcase. Let's pack a suitcase for our kids.
Get out
Put them
there.
on a Greyhound. Send them somewhere,
Seek adventure. I mean, that's a bit of return to wonder there, but it's just find adventure. There's a scale and a spectrum for that. And any place you pop into adventure, it's going to expand you as a human.
Yeah. All right, boys, it's been a good talk. Love you. Appreciate you. And let's go enjoy Germany. It's been another episode of Misfit Social
Thanks
Podcast.
for the stories of Rome.
Yes.
Appreciate
Thank you, Paul.
that.
It's the best I could do.
Paulius Maximus.